Let's watch Fox News liberal Jessica Tarlov having to further go at her MAGA co-host with the context they always conveniently forget to mention and the fact checks that have to go with it. So I want to line up these clips, look over a few of the best of them, see what's being discussed, and as always, we can jump back in after.
I think that there are a lot of factors that contributed to the loss, and I don't think it's fair to just put it on Kamala when Biden was clearly such a part of this, right? The timeline goes back a year ahead when he could have bowed out and said, I was supposed to be a bridge to the next generation. We have a primary or a mini primary or something, and maybe Kamala is the one that wins. That's completely feasible. She has experience as vice president. She might have been selected, but I don't think it's fair to just crush her with this.
Well, she was the candidate.
I understand, but it's always bigger than just one person.
I completely agree here. And look, for everything Joe Biden did right domestically, legislatively, etc., one of his biggest downfalls, outside of obviously, enabling genocide, will be not sticking to being a transitional president like he promised originally and working to bridge the gap for this next generation of leadership. I think this put us consistently on the back foot in this election cycle, where while Trump, for the better part of a year and a half, 2 years, what was it, right? He was able to hone his message against Democrats, hone his own message for his agenda. He was able to reach voters and kind of like bang his message into their heads, while Biden had to spend 75% of the campaign cycle defending his age before then chaotically dropping out and leaving Kamala only 100 days to both find the heart of the party, find attack lines against Trump, and then go and build a ground team, do a media blitz, campaign, where she did do the best that she could with the limited time and resources she had, but she wasn't able to develop her message the way Trump was, like she might have over the course of a year and a half with a primary and all of like what Trump was able to do, rather than having to try and rush it all in about 100 days. And it's hard to both reach voters and drill your message in their head in such a short time. And then even harder to do so when the other side has this massive misinformation machine through social media, and you just don't have the way nor the time to find a way to contend with it the way you need to.
Jessica, how do you see Kash Patel?
The good news is he is not being accused of having sex with a minor. So the bar, we're up here, so that's good. He also, in good news, just put his enemies list out there. It's in his book, Government Gangsters. His vision for reforming the FBI, I guess, is just being angry at people who worked for Barack Obama and Republicans who are mean to Trump.
Not a bad place to start.
Sure. Bill Barr, who I know some people on the Republican side, or I guess the MAGA side, think of as squishy, now said that he would be the deputy director of the FBI over his dead body. Just want to make sure I get that correct. He is an avid children's book author. The Plot Against the King. Hillary's the villain. Okay. Send that for the holidays. Cleo could use it. He has a clothing line. He hawks anti-vax diet supplements.
Trump has stacked his cabinet with so many sex offenders and pedophiles. Not having sex with a minor, not being accused of that, is literally the bar for being a good pick. And that is hilariously sad for where America is. But it's also hilarious that this guy kind of just represents the old Trumpian guard. Like everyone talks about how where Trump's going to be different, but it seems like he's signaling to things he ran on in 2016, where he kind of is vindictively obsessed with undoing pretty much anything Obama accomplished. I wonder why. Why might that be, right? Where this Kash Patel guy has a literal hit list in his book of who is part of the deep state, right? Right. The deep state that Republicans always allude to being like this major threat before going on to saying it's like teachers unions and the Department of Labor, which is hilarious and ignorant and a topic for a different video. But the list that Kash Patel has is entirely Democrats. There's not one Republican on the list. So, obviously there's no bias in him drafting this list here. Again, kind of funny how Trump has just convinced so many people that like deep state establishment literally just means Democrats. So he can just get away with being the establishment, being an elite himself. And it's mostly like old Obama appointments or staffers. Like, this is on top of Kash Patel being super anti-vax, like all vaccines too, right? He's not just anti-COVID vax, which is like the trendy one for MAGA to dislike at this point. He's an avid QAnon guy as well, like with the likes of like Marjorie Taylor Greene. So exactly someone we'd want at the top of our national security apparatus. I mean, am I right, guys?
I think that for a lot of rank and file Democrats, they actually would rather see Joe Biden do this because this feels like Mitch McConnell vibes. Someone who's like, we're not going to see Merrick Garland before Donald Trump comes into office, and I'm going to make sure that Supreme Court seat is open. It has more backbone than they're used to seeing from Joe Biden. He should have always said maybe, though, about this. It was, and I said, you guys asked me, well, do you believe him? And I said, I have no reason not to believe him, but you would think that any parent would be thinking in the back of their mind, I don't want my kid to go to jail. And if it's true what Karine Jean-Pierre said about the timing of this, I'm sure that this weekend the news rolled in that Charles Kushner is going to be the ambassador to France, a very cushy job, someone who was pardoned for what Chris Christie, who prosecuted him, called one of the most loathsome and disgusting crimes. I mean, the guy videotaped.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the juxtaposition
Well, he
of
served
that,
time, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he served
did.
time.
Notice how with MAGA, there's always some caveat for how what Trump's doing or has done is actually different than what they're mad at the Democrats for doing. And at some point, it's like, enough is enough, right? Like, quit being cowards and just own the position. The most annoying part of political discourse nowadays is that these clowns, these absolute gremlins, aren't even brave enough to actually hold the positions they want to espouse. So it's all about like pretending there's some justification or dog whistling it or whatever it may be. Like, just admit that you like Trump, so you don't care what he does, and you don't like Biden, so you want to criticize everything he does. Like, that would literally be more respectable than what Jesse Waters and Fox and MAGA clowns do. Like, Trump is actually different because, he was standing on his right foot when he did the pardon, and Biden was standing on his left when he did it, and the left is woke. And it's like, give me a break, seriously. Like, Jessica said, if anything, some of us on the left like this kind of move because it shows a set of balls that Democrats haven't shown, that they almost never show, to just say, fuck the repercussions, right? Fuck what Republicans are going to say, do, how they're going to frame it, all of that. We're just going to do this anyway because it's the right thing to do. Now, if only they did that with prosecuting Trump. I mean, am I right?